Go ahead.
The problem is, remember, we started the whole thing, we were going to keep score. But the problem is, we're dads. And so, like, we don't really laugh. We're not affected that much, to be honest with you.
We equally appreciate each other's dad jokes.
So keeping score really hasn't worked out like we thought it would, but that's fine.
Well, you win because you are more prepared. So.
I just study. You know, I study. I'm a learner, you know, so I got to
You used to read Faulkner.
Yeah.
Now you read dad jokes.
Yeah, that's right. Same. It's pretty much the same. So I had a joke that I was going to bring you from the future. You didn't like it.
I like that one. That's really good.
Welcome to September. We're trying something new today. Obviously, we are not in Tim's office.
Outdoors.
Outside. So we're trying something new. And the weather's perfect. We just didn't want to be stuck inside. You know, you got to go outside and play when the weather's still nice.
Yeah, there's that Office episode where Kevin goes, Michael, some days we never go outside. But so we decided to do that today.
We're trying. We're going to see how it goes. So you're going to see some flailing of the hair, and you're going to see all the usual stuff that comes with being outside.
I'm squinting. I didn't wear sunglasses. I want you to see my eyes, but I will be squinting the whole time.
You can only tell if somebody's telling the truth, right, by looking in their eyes. Right into September, because that's what we do. So September, I think, I might be just speaking out of turn, but I'm seeing buyers get a little stronger. They're getting a little more leverage. They're getting a little more power. We're seeing days on market increasing on listings, which gives buyers more chance to negotiate. I've had a few lately where we've gotten less price. We've gotten closing help. We've gotten what we asked for in repairs. Buyers, it's not like overwhelming. It's not like insane, but they definitely have leverage now.
I described it yesterday to someone who was kind of getting back into the market after a few years as a pretty balanced market.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call it a buyer's market. I think we're just coming off of a seller's market. So what you feels like it might be a buyer's market. It's just that we're kind of probably right there in the middle, which is where that's where we want to be.
Yes, exactly. Like where people do a little giving and taking, right?
Correct.
We're seeing some of that. It's not like the sellers have this crazy list of demands and the buyers just have to go with it. And buyers aren't just completely helpless. They're like, I want a little closing help. You're like, all right, we'll give you a little closing help, but we're going to do less repairs. Like there's some back and forth actually happening now.
And I think sellers, historically speaking, they get into this cycle of maybe trying to chase the market.
Yeah.
So you see these price adjustments that they're probably needed. It's not a sign of some sort of weakness. No. It's needed because if they're chasing the market, eventually there's going to have to be a correction.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I even had that same discussion with my sellers. They're like, hey, we want top dollar. All right, well, we can kind of reach for the stars a little bit and let's track the information. Let's track the data. How many likes you're getting, how many hits, how many showings. And people do tend to start high and then work their way down. So it's not crazy or panicky. What I do see that is kind of unusual this year over last few years is the number of houses coming back on the market. Are you seeing that? And what are some of the things that can be causing that?
I do. Actually, I had one very recently that a client had canceled a contract due to some very severe issues.
Got it.
And and 3 weeks later they come back, hey, we're about to go under contract on the same house again because the seller said, well, let me take it off the market. Let me address these things. I'll come back in 3 weeks. And the first person they reached out to was the first buyer.
Got it.
And the buyer said, yeah, we like that house. If this is cured, if it's been cured, let's go back under contract. So maybe that's where sellers in the past, when they had a lot more leverage, where they're like, okay, buyer number one, if you don't like this house as is, we'll move on to buyer number two.
2 or 3.
They realize that it's probably beneficial to them to just cure the items and put it back on the market, or fix things. Sellers and.
So aside from the repairs and so forth that you can't avoid, those are all negotiables. Are you seeing anything with buyers, or can buyers do anything to be more prepared to avoid those things from falling through? Because then they're spending the money on the inspections and they're spending money on appraisals. Like they're coming out of pocket, $1,500, $2,000. Let's try to avoid that if we can. What are we seeing?
I would say that it's really important. I think you've always operated this way, is allowing your buyers to get reps. I think you've said before that maybe there's a benefit to the first time you're meeting a new buyer. Let's meet them at a house so you can really get a good sense of what their absolutely have-to-haves are, their have-nots, their preferences, that maybe their dream sequence of, okay, this is, if we're dreaming and we're going top dollar, this is what we want. I think you find scenarios where a buyer doesn't communicate that to their realtor, and they get themselves into a situation with a house where the realtor could have avoided them going under contract that they shouldn't have
Got it.
gone under. Yeah.
Are you seeing buyers maybe stretching their budgets, or are they people playing it safe? Is it like to the point where they stretch their budgets and then something comes up and then they're like in trouble, or is that me taking a extra step?
I think so. We're going to talk about rates in a minute.
Okay.
When you have interest rates in the sixes, there's not one buyer that I've done a loan for the last couple of years that haven't had to reconcile a little bit of a stretch.
Got it.
And maybe look to change their spending in a certain way, or recalibrate their payment expectations when they come in and they say, you know, I want to buy a $500,000 house, but I want a $2,000 a month mortgage payment. I have to recalibrate that. So I think there's a form or fashion of the term stretching sounds bad, but I think most, oh, there we go. Hey, buddy. There's some form of fashion with that in each scenario. But I don't think that it's something that people shouldn't be doing. They just have to realize that the cost of housing has gone up, and if you're going to do this, you have to make sure that you're going to be in the house for a little while. That's all.
So we're expecting, or we're assessing that maybe some home inspection repairs are coming up, and maybe people stretching their budgets are kind of really the two main reasons why we're seeing houses pop back on the market. Because I'm seeing like I have a big stretch. So like I'm in Southern Maryland, everywhere. St. Mary's, Calvert. So my net's big, but 3-4 of them a week. It's been crazy.
Wow. Well, I will say this about,
it may not be just be Calvert. Was what I'm, you know what I mean? It might be Anne Arundel too. Like I have a big net. So
yeah, I mean, real estate's hyper regional, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that's probably normal everywhere.
Yeah,
it seems like.
That's good.
What I will say is I've seen a lot where a home inspection will take place, and in lieu of repairs, sellers are giving credits. They're saying, hey, I'll give you a few $1,000s instead because I don't really feel like doing that. Let's keep the contract going. I've had a lot of that lately.
So let's quickly talk about the upside downside of that real quick. So from my perspective, like you're on your end, that isn't as big a thing. That gets handed off to me in regards to like how can we handle that stuff. So the positive of that is that you get to pick your own contractor.
Yeah.
Most of the time, a seller's going to do those repairs, and it's going to be whatever the cheapest bidder is. Not every time, but a lot of time, like who can get this done as cheap as possible to keep things moving and money in my pocket. So the plus side of that is being able to choose your own contractor and get your own work done. The negative is you got stuff to do right away.
Yeah.
Like you move into the house and you're already got to do windows or do something. So there's a plus and a negative to that.
Yeah. If you negotiate a seller credit of $3,000 in lieu of repairs and your cash to close was 30 grand, now you're bringing 27 to the table, that 3 grand is going to be available to you after closing. There's also not that rush for the seller to get it done in hopes that it doesn't delay closing and things of that sort. We can just continue on the same path, close, and then you have that $3,000 freed up to make the repairs you were going to make.
Yeah, so there's pluses and minuses. And that comes up in our scenario. Like I always talk to you about the plus side and the negative side. And we run into bigger things, let's say a roof or a septic. That's a different story. I think we want to get those septics done, and we want to get those like big major things done before closing.
Yeah, agreed. The big ticket items, because you don't have to worry about that.
And then sometimes when you get structural repairs and stuff too, that'll depend. Again, we want those to be done with a licensed, like high-end contractor. Sometimes you can even negotiate that we get to pick who the contractor is in some rare cases. But yeah, things like that are up in the air. So the one thing we started to talk about, and you wanted to speak more of, is rates. So the question I'm getting from people is floating rates versus locking in rates.
Oh, great question. So you're really just making an educated decision on whether or not the rate that's available today is the rate that's going to give you the payment that you expected. If it's there, I always say, let's just err on the side of caution and lock, unless we absolutely know that there's some news coming up that rumblings are it's going to move the market in a positive direction. This happened a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, when we knew that the BLS, or we thought the BLS jobs report is going to come in as a dud. And so a few of my clients, I said, let's just float for the next couple of days to see what happens. And sure enough, I was right that time. I've been on the other side of that. Just because the data reporting is flawed and things of that sort. So I'm a big proponent of if you got them, you lock them, because I don't want it to see it go the other direction and things get worse.
Yeah.
So that's a risk averse outlook, of
tough.
Course. But I also just want to talk about rates in general. And I've done a few videos of these. You can see it on my Instagram, my TikTok, and things.
Good plug.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just about where rates are, and we've seen this improvement over the last few weeks. We saw it in September of 2024. There was this 3-week window where rates got really good, actually better than what they are now. And I reached out to a lot of my database and said, hey, if you're at 6.75%, 7%, 7.25%, now's the time to refi. And
Gotcha.
people are like, well, if they've gotten better, let's just ride that wave, and we'll wait until they get to 5.25% or 5%. And they never got there.
Never
and
did.
they went back up, and they missed their window.
Yeah.
And so I told people, I said, let's not get greedy this time. Let's capture it if we can. And they're saying, well, we have the Fed meeting next week.
Yeah.
They're supposed to cut rates, right? Well, let me wait till they cut rates. What you have to understand is the phenomenon on Wall Street of buy on the rumor, sell on the news. What does that mean? They've bought mortgage bonds now, and the expectation of the Fed cutting, so that's already priced in.
It's already built in.
So we don't have to wait for the Fed meeting for that to happen. It's already happened. The expectation is what moves the market, not the actual news, not the actual Fed meeting.
So people wait to react until they see it on CNN or Fox or wherever they get their news.
Correct.
And it's already been built in.
It's too late sometimes. Yeah, it could go the opposite direction. If the Fed on that microphone has some sort of rhetoric that the market doesn't like, it could go in the opposite direction. So when I tell you that rates have gotten good and now's the time, you should perk up, because we've seen it go in the opposite direction before.
Yeah. All right. So we covered a lot of the different stuff, like what we're seeing with rates, what we're seeing with houses coming back in the market, being prepared better as a buyer, and some of the things that you could expect to come up because we're seeing the houses come back on the market, some of the issues and things too, to be transparent with you. So yeah, people, what are some of the things they should do to get themselves ready? Because like, there's probably some people just kind of, we have a lot of folks that are just kind of like wading in the waters, toes in the water, not really doing anything.
I've heard a lot over the last several weeks from the toes in the water people, which is a good sign from my perspective, because I want the activity. But just know, as a buyer, if I'm seeing people come out of the woodworks, and sometimes that's interest rate induced, once they see on the news that rates have improved, they decide to call their lender and their realtor. If you're somebody that the last time you made an offer, there's 2 or 3 offers, in a few weeks' time, it could be 4 or 5.
Could be 4.
I think that we've done so many videos over the last however many months and years that say, hey, as soon as rates start to fall, there's going to be a flurry of activity. I've already seen the start of it. Not necessarily like the crazy multiple offers, waiving inspections. No. That's not here, but it's that slightly bit more competition that could be an adjustment to your price, or you're foregoing credits or something to that effect. So.
Yeah, so we started the video off talking about the power the buyers have, but if the rates do come down, then you're going to lose some of that buyer. It's not going to be wild, because we still have to have appraisals and we still have to have all those things. So it's not like it's going to go crazy. You might just lose some of that leverage of getting some closing help, or a little more leverage on repairs, or a little more leverage on things. But
I've had conversations with people that bought houses, let's say 10 years ago. And when I show them what closing costs are, they go, well, I didn't pay closing costs the first time. Can I finance that in? That wasn't even a thing. And I go, well, you probably just don't remember. Your realtor negotiated for the seller to pay all of it. Because yes, a decade ago, over 2015, I remember seller help was almost expected.
It was.
So you have people that it's an educational piece, that closing costs are now something that you might need to expect to pay.
Or they started an RD USDA loan, and now they're in a conventional situation. So maybe the type of loan too, because I think RDs for a while were no money down, or very little money down.
It's always been no money down.
So they may not be in that.
At that point, you would also ask the seller to pay your closing costs. So you're getting your earnest money deposit back at closing. That we used to sell that notion early on in my career, that, hey, you can buy a house for no money out of pocket and actually get money back at the table. I can't tell you the last time. It's happened a few times.
It did. We just had one.
Not often. Yeah.
We just actually had one. So it happens, not as much, but I mean, most of the people we have now are buying their second home or third home, and so they're in a different spot. FHAs, conventionals, where there's going to be money down 5%, 10%.
Sure.
So it definitely changes things. But the best way to do it is sit down with Tim.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Send him a couple houses. We just did one on North Beach, right? We just sent you a house, and you're like, all right, cool, run the numbers. So now my people know exactly where they stand. And we didn't even go out and look at anything yet, really. They wanted to know what leverage they had, so it's the best use of their time, and thankfully my time too.
Yeah.
So now they know exactly where they are. They know the house that we're going to go check out is right in their wheelhouse, and they know they have a plan. They know payments. They know all the stuff they need.
Yeah.
It just saves you time. That's, it just gets you ready.
And those clients actually is the second set of clients this week that I've had that are in a different time zone. And what I did was, after I spoke to them, I did a video. I shared my screen with the numbers that they should expect for that particular house. I explained it in detail. So it's not quite an in-person meeting, but it's good enough for them to have the visual of it. I can show them comparisons. So we can cater it to whatever your needs are.
A lot of technology and a lot of skills we have now.
Sure.
And if you're living in Hawaii, we have to come to you to do the closings. That's
that's
rule.
I don't have to fly us out.
Yep. So I mean, that's part of the standard.
Yeah, I don't prefer the Big Island, but I'll take it if we have to.
So there you go, buyers. You got a little bit of leverage, man. Let's see what you got. If you have any questions, let us know. We're always on social media doing things and hanging out, so we're very accessible. We'll run numbers for you at no cost, and you just
And on days like
get to
today, Billy wants to be showing houses, so
I
please call him.
go look at beach houses or $1 million houses, whatever. I mean, I'll do both.
That's right.
Well, Tim, thanks for being a little adventurous today. Like we headed outside, and so I appreciate you being
This
a
was
little
fun.
flexible.
I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to it. We're not doing this in December, I can promise.
it depends. We might have a couple of nice days. We'll see. So, all right, we'll see you. Thank you very much for your time. Buyers, let us know what you got. Have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, enjoy this beautiful weather, and we'll see you again next month.
See you guys.